Hey everybody, John Newman here. Another edition of Hobby Quick Hits. Uh, got a confession to make. This was not the Hobby Quick Hits that I had recorded for release today, but an event happened actually this morning at the time of this recording. It is Friday night, Saturday morning, 12:30 a.m. here on the East Coast. Probably will not be sleeping a ton tonight, but I am going to try to get some sleep. So, life's a funny thing sometimes, and life's a beautiful thing. Don't I don't want to twist my words here. Life is a beautiful thing, but can throw you a curveball sometimes. So, to give you an example, I woke up today, Friday, the 4th here, and it's show release day for our bigger show, Sports Carnation. With this week, our two guests was DJ Ski and Eric Norton, and great show, and was excited for it, as I am most Fridays, to release Sports Carnation. So that show got released around the 6 a.m. Hour here on the East Coast, and before going to work, I logged on my computer, and with the national happening now, and rooms were starting to book up, and so I went on. I usually use Expedia, and I went on Expedia, and I said, man, you can't not really go to the national. It would be tough. You would have, some regrets. I want to do the national and the industry summit. I don't know if I can pull both off, but the national with it getting canceled last year, and I knew it was a place I had to go, but I also knew, time was sort of the essence to, get airfare, hotel, and so I went on Expedia, which again is a site I use. They're not a sponsor. I'm not getting paid. I just use them a lot when it comes to travel and hotels and flights, and on the rare occasion I have to rent a car, I've used them as well. And so it took me about 30-40 minutes to finally find something I really liked at the right price, and I booked my national itinerary. So I got my hotel stay, I got my flights to and fro from Syracuse to Chicago, both direct flights, which is nice, so no layover, just straight from Syracuse to Chicago, and on the way home, Chicago to Syracuse. At this year's National, I will be coming for the full week, so I'll be coming in Wednesday, and I'll be leaving Sunday, and I love my flights because I leave Wednesday at 6 a.m. here in Syracuse, and I'm in Chicago at 7 a.m. I'm going to have some time to kill. That's before anything's really getting going, for sure. And then I love my flight back, which leaves Sunday about 4:50 p.m., and I'll get back in Syracuse at 7:50, just because of the lost hour. And, I did take, I learned this year, I took the Monday off from work just to kind of recover from, 5 days of excitement and a lot of walking around. I have a lot of stuff I'll probably be bringing back that I'll have to do stuff with. And so I was sort of riding that hobby high, if you will. New show out, just booked my, national itinerary, was all set. One less thing to worry about or scramble at last minute. Downloads very early were great. So everything was going great, felt good, posted on social media that I'm good for the national, got all my stuff, I'm locked in, see you there, here's where I'm staying, here's when I'm coming in, that sort of thing. Happy to announce that. And then about 30 minutes, at that point I had went to work, and about 45 minutes later, but about 30 minutes into being at work, my phone rang. It was my dad, on the caller ID. And I knew something was not good when the call came in that early from my dad. But honestly, I had no idea. Did not dawn on me what this call was going to be. I thought maybe something with my dad. Maybe he got a medical diagnosis that was not good, or something had happened with pertaining to him. And I answered the phone. And he told me my older stepbrothers, Steve Novak, had passed away a few hours prior. And my stepbrother Steve, rest in peace, was not in good health, but we did not think this was going to occur at this point. We thought, maybe in a few more years potentially with him here. He had recently come up. The last time I saw him was about 4 weeks ago. He came to Syracuse. He actually came to live with my dad. Wanted to be here. I think he knew he was in poor health and wanted to, spend what time he had left, which we thought was more, here closer to us. And he had diabetes, so he was missing a few toes, did not get around. He had some heart stuff. We had some stents put in. He had some heart attacks, some strokes, and was almost completely blind. And I was a little shocked when I went to my dad's house to visit with him to see how his condition had deteriorated to that point. And, I stayed there 2-3 hours. We talked, and, I remember coming home that night, talking to my son and my wife, and really saying, like, I don't know, how long it's going to be. Hopefully it's a year, 2 years, maybe if we're lucky, longer. But, he was in not great shape. But we weren't thinking, 4 weeks later. That's for sure. I don't think we were, thinking that. But that's, that's how life works. You don't get a say in that all the time. And so got that phone call and went from that hobby high to life smacking you right in the face, or in this case a death smacking you right in the face. Keeping it together right now for the show, but did a lot of crying today. It was really tough day as to be expected, but you gotta, I stayed at work. My coworkers were like, you should go home, John. They saw me, crying, and I'm like, no, what am I going to go home for, right? Just to dwell on it and probably make it worse. And, here I can work and kind of take my mind off it at times. And so put in the full day at work. I did have to step out every so often for family phone calls that were coming in and that we were exchanging. Tough day. I posted on my social medias what had happened. I almost felt sort of, it sounds weird, sort of obligated. I had just posted some good news with the National, me booking that, and I almost felt like, I knew I wasn't going to be posting many upbeat things the rest of that day and for the immediate future, and I wanted just to get out there why. And, the hobby is a great community. And, I didn't do that post, obviously, for that reason, but the amount of texts, responses to social media posts, phone calls for people who had my number, and again, text was tremendous. I mean, I tried to answer everyone I could personally and directly. It was so many. It was hard to keep up. It was very humbling. It means a lot to me. And if you're listening to this episode of Hobby Quick Hits here, and you're one of those people that reached out, I want to say a sincere thank you. Those little thoughts of condolence and prayers, if you're so inclined, mean a lot. People don't have to do that, and some people don't do that. And that's fine. That's okay. And but the ones that took time out of their day to say, sorry, John, I'm thinking of you. Prayers to you and your family. All those kinds of sentiments. For people, most I've never met before, quite frankly. And it really hits home. What a great community this really, really is. And so this show is going to be dedicated to my brother, Steve Novak. I love you. I miss you, man, already. It just happened, and I miss you already. And we're not going to talk about all, just sad stuff. I wanted to do the preface with that, and then kind of, tie this into a hobby episode. Like I said, I had another episode planned for this release, but didn't feel like the timing was good for that one, and I wanted to do this and pay my respects. My stepbrother wasn't into cards or anything like that, so I don't have any cool hobby stories other than the only card stories I remembered was we collected. I remember opening the original Garbage Pail Kids back in the day with them. We got a kick out of that. We put it, we took those stickers off and put them on our Trapper Keepers for school. And man, what those be worth today if we had them in the original form? And so that's probably as close to the hobby story as I can get. But grew up with them. We weren't related by blood, but my dad raised him. I grew up with him. And if I introduced him to you, he was my brother, Steve, and I was his brother, John. And that's never going to change. And I remember, he wanted to, he didn't go into law enforcement, wanted to be in law enforcement. He's 3 years older than me. And so we would, we played a lot together with different things. He wanted to be a cop, and he got some real handcuffs for Christmas. Bad idea from my dad. And we always had to play cops and robbers. And of course, I always had to be the robber. So I was thrown around against the walls, facing the carpet, handcuffs behind my back, always 90% of the time way too tight, where it stopped my circulation, and just manhandle me around like I was a real bad guy. And I joked around even as an older person that didn't turn to a life of crime, or was pretty much avoided any brushes with the law in a bad sort of way. But I always said that if I ever had a brush with the law or was arrested, I know exactly what to do, or how to throw myself against the car, or put my hands behind my back, or face the concrete, and that sort of thing. And he would always, took pleasure in roughhousing me and being that cop, taking down the perpetrator, that perpetrator being me. And I don't know how many times I would say, Steve, let me be the cop this time. Let me be the cop. You be the bad guy. Nope, never happened, never will. But, it was many days where I was frustrated, didn't want to be the bad guy anymore. And, now looking back, I'd love another day to be that bad guy and play cops and robbers with my brother and his real handcuffs. But we think back, when things like this happen, we got to think back to those happier times and, those great moments that, maybe we don't even realize how great they were at the time that they're going on. So where does the hobby tie into this? This is, and so I've done shows. I've done a show on morbidity in the hobby. Where do your cards go when you go? I've been on Dr. Beckett's Sports Card Insights, and we did sort of a combo show on that very topic as well. He's also done himself subsequent episodes, kind of going more into depth than I even did. And so, I thought about it, to tie it all sort of back in. Like, here I am, feeling good. New episode out. Just booked my national stuff. Good early downloads with the demographics report. And then that phone call comes, right? And none of that high stuff mattered anymore. Didn't matter right then and there about the national. Didn't matter about that show. I still haven't even listened. Usually I listen to Sports Card Nation a couple hours after the fact just to see how, how it turned out. I haven't even listened to that yet today. Here I am recording Hobby Quick Hits at now 12:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I think that's the lesson in the story, that, as much as we love the hobby, and I love it, if you're listening to this, you most likely love it too, but, it doesn't replace, the cards are real life, but it doesn't replace those relationships. It doesn't replace people. The tagline for Sports Card Nation, the hobby's the people. And it really is. It really is. And we've seen this hobby come together many times before when other community members have lost, whether it's a pet or a family member. And, here in the last year and a half, I've lost each of that, a pet and now a family member. And they rise up and they pick you up. And it means so much. But it also points out that, again, as much as we love the hobby, collecting, ripping, buying graded cards, submitted and grading cards, however you hobby, right? There's no real wrong way. But, there's life besides the cards. When that call came, I stopped thinking about cards. I stopped thinking about the show, the podcast, the national. It took such a backseat, as it should. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that. It shouldn't always have to be someone passing to realize how important people are to you, And, I want to stress that don't forsake other things because of the cards, I spend time with my family, my wife, my son, as much as I can. When my brother did come up here 4 or 5 weeks ago, I went over there as much to my dad's house as much as I could to, spend time with him and joke around with him, because you never know when it would be the last time. And that last day I saw him there 4 weeks ago was the last time. You didn't know it. You always wonder, right? And so that's the one thing I want to get across, is don't lose sight of the big picture, right? Cards are a great hobby. For some, it's a great business. For some, it's both. I think I qualify in that category as a hobby and a business. And that's all well and good, and that's why you're probably listening, if you're still listening, and thank you for doing so. Kind of a different episode, I know, and not going to do these all the time, but I thought for today and for this weekend and this Monday, after this happened, I thought this was where I wanted to go. Don't lose sight of that. Spend time with your cards, your hobby, travel, but also spend time with those people that you love and care about, and love spending time with you as well. And that the other thing that really made, my brother is 51 years old. I'm 48 years old. 3 years difference. And you don't know. You don't know when, that number's up, right? This was part of what me and Dr. Jim talked about on his show, what I talked about on my show with mortality. And, enjoy things too. Besides, again, outside, if you love the hobby, you go to the national. I just came from the Dallas show, got on a plane, kind of on a whim. A few weeks before, kind of all just kind of went down quick. Do those spontaneous things in the hobby. I don't want you to not pay bills or not pay your mortgage or not put food on the table. But you got that card you love and have always wanted. And can you do it? Maybe spend a little bit more than you should, but have the card and enjoy it and still get your bill paid, and maybe have to put in a few more hours at work, or, do some side projects, or sell some other cards you sort of like, but you like this one more to get it. Do those things, right? We only do this life one time, That's it. That's your Shirley MacLaine. Some of you hearing that probably like, I don't get that joke. Some of you that are older probably chuckled there. But there you go. But honestly, we get one crack at this for the most part, and you got to enjoy it too. If that that Grail, whether it's that Grail card or that card you always wanted, traveling a little bit and spending a little money to do it. I know again, I'm not trying to tell you to spend money you don't have or get in debt or get into a bad spot financially. I would never do that. Very irresponsible of me. But hey, a little credit card bill. Hey, a little bit, $1,000. Where you have a steady income and you can, pay $100 a month for 12 months and pay it off. Or you get maybe you're in a good spot. Like I'm fortunate where I get a quarterly bonus every 3 months, and you can use that and buy something, that's sort of extra money, not part of your routine income, if you will. And have fun in the hobby, have fun with your family. We don't know how long we have. When time's going to be up. My brother was 51, and while he was in poor health and we knew he was closer to the finish line than the starting line, we still thought there was more time. I did. That phone call, even though I knew it was going to come most likely at some point, still rattled my cage. It hit me like a ton of bricks. And quite frankly, obviously I love my brother, and I knew I would be upset. It really sort of shocked me how upset I actually got, and did a lot of crying today. I think I'm cried out for today. I'll be heading to Brooklyn a week from today, of time of this recording, to attend services and say goodbye. And that's the point I kind of want to come down here. So it'll be a little bit of a longer episode of HQH here, but enjoy the hobby. Maybe spend a little bit more without getting yourself in a financial tough spot or hole, to get something you always wanted. To travel to a show or a city where there was a show that you always wanted to go. Whether that, in my case, was Dallas, whether that's going to be Chicago this year, Atlantic City next year, wherever, Chantilly, Philly, White Plains, down in near my hometown. Live the life, right? Live your life, have fun, enjoy it. And that includes the stuff outside the cards as well. Family, take regular trips. Not every trip has to be based around cards, but you can work those in there as well, as I do. Live. Don't have any regrets. Whether it be life or hobby. Don't say, man, I could have did that and not been too bad off. I could have made that work. Now I'm not. I want to own a 1948 Leaf Jackie Robinson, and that card has just been a skyrocket in flight. And I've had my opportunities. I have no one to blame but myself. I had 2 or 3 opportunities to purchase that card at a price level nowhere near where we know it at today, and I balked. I thought I can get it later. I'll come back to it, and I couldn't. There's a hobby regret. Could I buy it now? Could I put it? Can I take money out of maybe a portfolio or a retirement account or a credit card and get a very expensive card? I could. My wife would probably have my stuff in boxes for me. So I can't do that. But could I buy a lesser grade one? That's on the table, right? So don't put yourself in a bad spot. I would never tell anyone to do that. I think that's irresponsible and not good sound advice. But you know what? If you can do something and it's close to that line, sort of straddling and going a little bit over, do it, right? Do it. Don't put, don't hurt your family situation, your mortgage, food in that fridge and that sort of thing. But if you can do it, maybe stretch yourself a little thin and then just catch up. That's where I'm going with it. And so enjoy the hobby, enjoy life with things you love, people you love. And that being said, call someone, even if it's a relative that's not close to you. Maybe you don't live with them. A sibling, your mom and dad, a cousin, an uncle, an aunt, I don't care, grandma, grandpa, it don't matter. A friend, a very close friend that maybe you haven't talked to recently. Not because you're mad, not because you're fighting. You just, our lives get busy. Please, reach out to them. Call them. Tell them what they mean to you. Tell them you're thinking about them. Tell them how you feel about them. Whatever, that positive way is. You just don't know when you can't anymore. And once you can't anymore, you can't anymore. And so that's what I'm going to close with. Enjoy the hobby. Enjoy life, whatever time we have in both. And communicate with people what they mean to you. I think that's very important. And, when my son, he doesn't do it every day necessarily, but when I get that, hey, I love you, Dad, from my son, it just really hits me. And dads out there know what I'm talking about, right? Really, really hits home that, hey, my son loves me. I'm a good dad. I provide. I do what I need to do. And that doesn't have to just be a parent, son or daughter, really. They could be cousins. It can be any. You don't have to be a relative. It could be a friend. It could be a colleague, a teacher, someone who's made a difference for you. And maybe you haven't told them recently or ever. Reach out there. Let them know what they mean to you. Put yourself out there. I know sometimes it's not a comfortable position to be in to say those things all the time. Even though you mean them and you feel them, to express them sometimes is not always easy. But do it, because you just never know when you won't be able to do it ever again. And I'll close with that. I want to thank Mojo Breaks. I'm going to run their ad here at the end, followed by our social medias. And we'll be back. We'll be back with another episode Friday of Sports Card Nation with Leighton Shelton, and we'll be back next Monday with another edition of Hobby Quick Hits that hopefully will have a completely upbeat tone to it. So thank you for those who reached out. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. My family thanks you as well. And, we got to keep going, right? My brother would tell me, John, he knew, while he wasn't in the cards, he knew about the podcast. He'd ask me, how's the podcast going? He knew I would travel for him. Where are you going next? And he'd want me to, he probably wouldn't want this episode done. He was probably a pretty modest guy, but, he'd also say, hey, keep going, man. Live your life. And we all have to do that. So thanks for spending some time with me on a different sort of level. Be good. Let's hear from Mojo Breaks, followed by our social medias. And like I said, we'll see you in a week. Thank you. Hey folks, wanted to tell you about the best place to get some of your sealed sports card wax products. Great selection and some of the lowest prices on the web. MojoBreakShop.com is that place. Whether it's a box or a whole case, they're your guys, and they ship around the world right to your door. The Mojo Break name is one of the most trusted in the hobby. From sports cards to Pokemon, their selection can't be beat. They offer daily deals and pre-orders. Who won first place at this year's Topps Rip Party? None other than Mojo Break. Their prices are already great, but here's a way to save even more money. Use the code QUICKHITS, that's QUICKHITS, for 10% off anything on MojoBreakShop.com. They also have a full-service card shop in Santa Clara, California. So if you're in the area, stop by. They're open 7 days a week, so check them out at mojobreakshop.com. Hey folks, thanks for listening to the show. Wanted to give out our social media links where you can follow the show even when you're not listening to it. On Twitter, we are at Hits Hobby, HitsHobby. On Instagram, we are at Hobby Quick Hits Podcast, all one word. Our website is www.sportscardnation.net. Look for the link to Hobby Quick Hits. You'll find us there. And you can always text us on our text line, area code 315-491-0239.